Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I have a review of The Keeper of Lost Things by Ruth Hogan. This story is an accumulation of different stories all coming together to form this whole narrative. There is this man who, since the death of his wife, has been accumulating lost objects. His assistant Laura, who has also had some upsets in her life, ends up left the task of returning all of these lost objects to their original owners. Dave, over at Wild Reads, has been recommending this book since he first started his channel. He is the main reason that I read this book. I have to say thank you to Dave for recommending it actually, because it's definitely the type of book that I enjoy, but I wouldn't have picked it up had it not been recommended. I adore this book. This book evoked emotions that I felt with The Trouble with Goats and Sheep and Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine and The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry. These books that deal with darker themes but do it in an almost classic British way. There is a humour there and there is a coziness. This book can be too cosy. It could be defined as being too twee and too sugary and sympathetic, but there is really these darker themes and undertones that really mean that the story is examining whether or not people can really come back from their grief. And it's this story of breaking cycles and breaking the cycle of constantly being sad. And although you can become mired by grief and you can be mired by a sad thing that has happened to you, you can still break the cycle and go on to lead a fulfilling life. This isn't me trying to make this book seem more literary than it is. This is an extremely accessible book. This is a book that you would take to the beach to read because it's quite short. It's your holiday book. It's your book that you could read and you could share with your grandmother. It's a book club book. There is an everyday magic within here, with the character of Sunshine being able to feel emotions and histories from objects, which really did sometimes seem coincidental, and you do have to allow yourself to suspend your disbelief quite a lot. But as it is a rather short book, it doesn't ever reach the point that you can no longer keep disbelieving what's happening, and it does fit in with the narrative quite well. I do enjoy reading about everyday magic. I get it in Chocolat and The Lollipop Shoes and any of Joanne Harris's books where she is able to evoke this magic within her prose with the sometimes questionable, is it magic or is it just empathy for a person? That aspect of this book I thoroughly enjoyed. I felt at times like I do when I'm listening to a radio play. And by these radio plays I mean like The Archers or the Miss Marple ones or any of like the cosy crime ones, with it being using that word cosy again, because it is a very cosy book and I wouldn't want anyone to go into this thinking that it's not. I think that I just read it at a really nice point for me because I was looking for something easy to read. I didn't want to really have to think too hard about what I was reading, and this book worked for that perfectly. I'd also like to discuss the book's bad points. Because the book can sometimes be a bit twee, it does mean that there is a lot of using cliché to get the point across. At first I thought it was being used to quickly get you through the story so you could learn who the character is. So you know Laura was in a somewhat abusive relationship previously and now she is on her own. She's living a very routine life. It's just the way that Ruth Hogan seems to write. I did wonder whether she was trying to fit a lot in that didn't need to be there, and it did at times. The cliches, it could end up getting on my nerves a bit, and I did wish that maybe they hadn't been used so much, but I can understand why they had been used, and once again it did fit in with this whole people's friend view that I had of the book. So really that can't be a bad criticism with it fitting the story. I wished it hadn't been used as much, and it doesn't dampen the enjoyment that I actually had for the book in the end. I mean, we've all used cliches before in order to tell a story. It's a quicker way of getting through a narrative and getting it done. I do wonder whether the book could have benefited from being longer towards the end, because the ending did feel a bit rushed for me. I just feel like it was wrapped up a bit too neatly. I do appreciate the size of the story that Ruth Hogan is trying to tell, but I do think that it could have been fleshed out. Everything felt a bit too easy, but once again, all of that being said, I think that the characters are characters that you hope for. I think that the story is a good one, and as I mentioned before, I do think that this is a truly wondrous book and that more people should actually be going out and reading it. And once again, thank you to Dave over at Wild Reads for recommending this book so wholeheartedly. I'll leave a link to his channel down below so you can go and watch his videos and get an idea of what Dave thinks about this book as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to discuss this book, please feel free to do so down in the comments, and until next time, that is all.